Okay, these are my peppers from this year. This is a hybrid. It's a cross between one of the hybrids that I've done and Capsicum bacatum. This is actually a cross between Balloon, which is a strange hybrid that has like a looks like a dome with 3 or 4 little wings around it. For some reason, when I cross with Capsicum bacatum, which is Balloon and Lemon Drop are 2 examples of cultivars that I've grown of that species. When I cross with Capsicum bacatum, the plants end up being sterile for some reason. They'll make fruit, but they won't have any seeds in it. Now, the technical term for that is parthenocarpic fruit. But this is what this one looks like right here. This is actually my original hybrid, Tabasco crossed with habanero, crossed with Balloon. Little bitty fruit right there. Not very many on these plants. Here's another one that's actually starting to ripen. Okay. Now this other one that I have is from last year. This is crossed with Lemon Drop, and it doesn't produce very much fruit at all. They're still hot though. Got a nice sweet smell to them. And right over here are some other hybrids that I have now. Some of my hybrids are unknown. Either the tag, where they had their name written in marker, faded over time, or else they volunteered, came up from seeds, and I don't know what they are. This is a case where it's a volunteer. This is the original one last year. I don't remember what it was, but it died in my greenhouse, and these actually came up on their own. So it looks like it may have jalapeno in it. I'm not entirely certain. It's a neat looking little plant. And this is another one. This definitely also looks like it may have jalapeno in it, possibly even fatale. Sometimes you can tell just by looking at them, get an idea anyway, what it actually has in it. Okay. Now over here, I have some other peppers I can show you. Now here's, by the way, this is one more pepper that I have that's a volunteer. Don't know what it is. It turns yellow. You can see variation. Some the peppers will turn yellow, some orange, some red, some reddish orange. Okay. And over here, these are some peppers that I have rooted. In one of my videos before, I had a pepper, if I remember correctly, the lineage was Tabasco crossed with habanero, crossed with a black bell pepper, and then crossed with a fatale pepper. But this is what it looked like. You'll see it here in a little bit. I got the original one growing in a flower pot. It's neat. It's black and green, or purple and green. It's kind of shaped like the ghost pepper a little bit. It's still hot, but it's not as hot as some of my hybrids, and they turn red when they get ripened. But you can see this whole row right here. These are rooted cuttings that went through my greenhouse last year, and I planted them this year. Now this year my plants are a little bit greener, some of them anyway, than they have been in years past because I gave them a little miracle grow a little bit later in the season. But the parent that I told you about, the black bell pepper, is actually right behind here. I grew some more of them this year. See there? Just a black bell pepper. Okay? That's Merlot, M-E-R-L-O-T is the name of that hybrid. But over here, it's where I have the majority of my hybrids, and they're in flower pots. Now, not all of these are my hybrids, but the vast majority of them are. Like this one, for example, is Mulatto Isleno. It's a pepper that I bought from seed. That one and this one right here. Now this one I've had for a few years. This is Tabasco crossed with habanero, crossed with that black bell pepper. But this one didn't have any black on it. You can see it's amazing the variation on these things. But it's still hot, but not quite as hot. Now this one, I just want to show you right quick. It's been in videos before. This is Tabasco crossed with habanero, crossed with jalapeno. That's the second one from that hybrid, so I call it Cap-3-2. To me, on my hybrids, Cap-3 is Tabasco crossed with habanero, crossed with jalapeno. And since that's the second one, it's Cap-3-2. Okay, you'll see that in as one of the parents to a few of my other hybrids, like this one, for example. This one is well, not exactly. This is Cap-3-1 from the first hybrid crossed with itself. Its parent was a shorter, fatter plant, pepper anyway, and it ended up being this one. It's still very hot and looks like a little miniature jalapeno or Tabasco, sort of. This actually is Tabasco. See how these stick up more. Of course, this is not my hybrid. This is one I used as a parent. This one is an unknown hybrid that it volunteered, and it looks like it's Tabasco and habanero and jalapeno mix. This one is not one of my hybrids, but I like it. I have some that I've crossed it with this year for some of my peppers next year. This one is the scorpion pepper, the Trinidad Moruga scorpion. Very hot pepper, probably about twice as hot as the ghost pepper. This is the close-up of it right here. It's a mean little pepper. Okay, you see it's not quite as green. It's been a little while since I've fertilized it. This one, I don't know the name of this one, but anyway, it's a nice sweet pepper. This is my jalapeno pepper that I bought. This is one of my hybrids. I call it Cap-5-3. I don't remember the exact lineage. I'll have to look up in my records and see exactly what that lineage is, but it's a neat pepper. Of course, it's hot. This one is another one of my unknowns. If I can read the tag here. But I think this is where the tag is messed up. Little bitty peppers. They sort of, looks like they turn sort of a peach color when they get ripened. Probably hot. This is a bell pepper. And this one, last year, I had one that I called Tornado because it looked like a little funnel. And I let it open pollinate, meaning it made seeds without me actually pollinating it, and this is what I got. Now this plant is very wilted because the root system is not all that great. I may try to get some cuttings of this before winter. This one here, in my very first year of making videos, this was Tabasco crossed with habanero crossed with itself. This was the second plant in that. So I took that second plant, crossed it with itself to get this particular one. So this Tabasco crossed with habanero crossed with itself would be the F2. And in that crossed with itself, this makes this an F3 hybrid. And the more you cross it with itself, the more it actually will become an heirloom, meaning that it would eventually come back true from seed. The variation becomes less and less and less, and you selectively breed for what you're looking for to get what you want. And this one, if you remember from that video, it had some purple on it. Some of these, I think, have some purple. A few, not a whole lot. Not as many as it did in that video. But anyway. This one, this is Cap-3-1 crossed with Fatale. Remember, Cap-3 was Tabasco, habanero, and then crossed with jalapeno. Took that, crossed with the Fatale pepper. I got this one. And I also got this one. See how those were red? This one is yellow. This one. There's something wrong with this one. I'm not sure exactly what. It's got, looks like some kind of infection. But this one looks a little more similar to the first one that I showed you of that hybrid. And last year I did something. My original hybrid Tabasco crossed with habanero, the seeds finally ran out. What was left have lost their germination. So I didn't think to put them in the freezer. But anyway, so I redid the hybrid last year. And this year when they came out, the habanero that I used, I don't think it was actually an heirloom habanero. My original habanero, I believe, was, because all the offspring were exactly the same, pretty much, and so I believe the Tabasco was also an heirloom. But in this case, they look very similar. The Tabasco might have been an heirloom, but the habanero, I think, was a hybrid because there's a little bit of variation here. This one has a harder time standing up on its own, whereas this one didn't. It could have just been a physical difference rather than a genetic difference. but this is probably actually my hottest hybrid of all. I can hardly stand it. It's extremely hot. One pepper is too much. The little bit of juice from one of these is too much heat for me. This one, this is capsicum bacatum. This is called lemon drop. I'm sorry, but I don't have a balloon pepper this year. Maybe I can try to have one next year. But this is that species, the lemon drop, that is one of my odd hybrids. This is not my hybrid, but it's the parent to some of my odd hybrids. Like this one. This one is Cap-3-2 that I introduced earlier. This is a Tabasco crossed with habanero crossed with jalapeno. The second one crossed with lemon drop. The previous one I just showed you, the yellow one. These peppers, they're neat. They look like a bell pepper that has been squished. They got a nice flavor. I just tried it yesterday for the first time. Awesome flavor. For some reason though, see how the leaves here look unusual? Like a virus or something? All the hybrids that I've ever had that are crossed with capsicum bacatum end up doing that. And I'm not sure if that is a virus or if it's just a genetic thing. But they all end up doing that. But this one here, again, also is sterile. Parthenocarpic fruit, no seeds. This one, last year I had a volunteer pepper, and I called it Cowboy because it reminded me of a cowboy boot. And I let it open pollinate, and this is what I got this year. Some of my peppers just, they have a hard time standing up this year. Oops. But this one, these are fairly easy to pick. That I have noticed in picking some before earlier this year, they pop off very easily. They look this color before they ripen, and then they turn sort of this, then this, and then this. Sort of a reddish orange, or orangish red. Now, this one is another little neat one of mine. This is Cap-3-1 open pollinated. Now the Cap-3-1, I could have sworn that the plant did not die. But when it came one year, it started producing yellow fruit. Now the original is dead now. It didn't make it this past winter. But when it turned yellow, I let it open pollinate with itself, and I got this one. It ended up being black. And little black peppers on it. So it's probably crossed with either one of my hybrids or my Merlot pepper. These are red. They start out this color. Neat shape, neat color. This next one here is not my hybrid. This is called Lunchbox Orange. Nice, sweet little pepper. I like it. But I've tried to cross it with some of my hot peppers too this year. Cap-3-2 open pollinated. The Tabasco habanero jalapeno hybrid, the second one. Let it open pollinate. And I get this. This looks sort of like my original Tabasco habanero hybrid, and there is some variation even amongst this one. See how this one, that's the same parentage, but they're fatter. A little bit bigger peppers, and they look sort of like the tornado pepper in a way. This next one's also the same parentage. You see it dips a little more, and it's sort of like a habanero. Okay, this is another Lunchbox Orange. These are some cuttings I call of Cap-4-1, which was the cuttings I had in my garden that I showed you earlier in the video. This one is another unknown. Looks like it may have jalapeno in it. And this one is Cap-3-1, the yellow version of it. Open pollinated. It's another hybrid of it. This one I've had for a few years, and this is actually one of my original F2 hybrids. And the first video the first year that I made videos. This is Tabasco crossed with habanero, crossed with itself. This was the 8th plant in the video. Actually crossed with itself, my bad. I see my tags a little bit different. The 8th one crossed with itself, but it looks a lot like the 8th one. A lot like habanero, but a smaller version of it. This is Cap-4-1. This is the original one. I told you I had the original one in a flower pot over here. Earlier in the video, I had it in my garden next to my greenhouse. It has the black peppers on it. They look sort of like a ghost pepper. a little bit. They ripen red. Now I let this one open pollinate last year, and I've got one plant of it. It looks very similar, but the peppers are a little bit narrower and a little bit longer. This is Cap-4-1 open pollinated, but otherwise basically the same. Okay, and again, this is Cap-3-2, which I showed you earlier in the video. Tabasco crossed with habanero crossed with itself. No, not okay. Tabasco crossed with habanero crossed with jalapeno. This was the second one. And this is a habanero that I grew this year. Some of the peppers have gotten a little old on the plant. I need to pick those off. But that's pretty much my hybrids from this year. I hope you enjoyed my video, and like, comment, subscribe.